click the button. There you go. So we pick up. See, technical stuff is so important. You're so good at this, Sheila. I'm going to hire you as a sound person. Okay. Scroll down some more. So keep scrolling down because all of these highlights, folks, are the areas for your contract. You need to know these things protects you. Especially now that we're doing Zoom readings and streaming. And yes, everybody wants to do a trailer like in the movies, we got theater trailers. That all of this is protected by a guideline that's been established by stage directors and choreographers. A contract. Keep scrolling down because there's more to this. When you get to the end, and there's the parts that you still have to sign. Right of first refusal. Those are terms which you need to come to know because if you originated the roles, if you originated the dialogue, and they want to redo it and bring in somebody and they want to continue the work on digital, they have to come to ask your permission that if you're not available to do this, you can tell me right now that you can't do it and I have permission to hire somebody else. That's what that's all about. Okay, so keep scrolling down. I think that's comes to here we go, the contract. Here's the contract. Look at the highlighted parts in yellow, and I guarantee you everything that you see here was the same terms, the same technology, the same terms of a contract that you saw in that white paper contract. This is just the way the union contract looks. And so basically understand white paper contract, union contract still have terms that are guided and regulated by federal agency. That's important. Okay, is that the last of that document? Scroll down some more, Sheila, just till the end. Okay, this is the extension. If your show got extended, there's a contract for that. Digital stage production form contract. Once again, and these contracts, literally, I went online to download them. So can you. You have access to them. These contracts are not that difficult, and they are pretty much already made to fill out because if you click on the blocked squares, it allows you to put data in. So these are data-friendly contracts that ultimately are very easy to fill out and make it, as I said, they're user-friendly, but they want to make sure that you have rights that are guaranteed and protected by law. Okay, let's scroll all the way down to the end here. I think this is probably at the end. Keep scrolling, all the way to the
It's
end.
at
Is
the
that the
end.
end? Good. Let's
Yes.
go to the next one. And
Okay.
this is a big one, folks. This is video cue number 5, is it? Or
Yes.
6? What, number 5?
5.
Okay. Number 5. This is for academic contracts. You thought you had a contract just for theaters that are regular community theaters, professional theaters? There's an academic contract where you're performing at a school, a college, a high school. If you're getting paid to perform and you are a member, yes, there is a contract even for academic experience. These gives you the tiers. These tell you what the pay is about. I mean, read the yellow parts that I've highlighted. It is actually an opportunity of a master class in understanding contract law. Okay? And we really need to make sure we get this because you're not able to have an agent, you're not able to have a publicist, you're not able to hire somebody to do your work. Folks, don't let that be your excuse because you do have access instantly to be able to represent yourself fairly in a court, not just public opinion, but in a court of law. Scroll down because all of this information is sharing with you the do's, the don'ts, the pension and welfare rates for a contract A or tier level B, electronic rights, once again, for billing, your name, your credit. All of this is spelled out. And if your contract doesn't have any of these terms, you must bring it to the attention of the company that you're trying to work with and make sure that they are on the legitimate up and up side. Because everybody's, unfortunately, our system of economic growth and development in this country is based in capitalism. And as you well know, and having been living in this country, okay, you can stop right there at that particular contract. Unfortunately, uh, we have people who disrespect the rule of law and the guidelines that help protect us. And so we need to make sure that we're protecting our own selves. We're our own best agent. And these contracts, these simple contracts, I guarantee you, will give you a new perspective on your rights in the industry that you pretty much almost give it away. You give away your stuff. But no, we need to stop that. And capitalist system works on unfortunately, on a system of cheap labor, which is slavery, basically. And this is the way we break that concept. Never work for slave wages. Go to, okay, that's the academic agreement. Let's go to video cue number 6. Now, this one, folks, this is the League of Regional Theater, Resident Theaters, League of Resident Theaters, called LORT. This is for stage directors and choreographers. This is a handbook. There's 82 pages of this guideline. And every theater company in America that is considered to be a professional, when we say yellow card theater, that's because they hired the union artists. And the table of contents is so detailed that if you have a question, it's usually going to be answered in one of these identified contents. Get to read it, take time to read it. It's like I said, it's almost like a book. But here are the realities of working with the professional companies. You're on tour. Remember, I told you how I was the production coordinator for Theater of the Stars? This was my Bible. When I was production coordinator, I had to learn the terms. I had to understand what the terms meant and who the parties were, both as the protect the employee, because that was my job to protect the employee, as well as my job to mostly to protect my employer who hired me to make sure that I ran a tight shop with the hires, whether they were technicians, actors, musicians. Like I said, welcome to Atlanta. Payday is on Thursday. Okay, that's what this means. This document right here, get to know it, read it. It's based on tiers of a contract. A C contract, hold it right there. Go back up. A C contract is based on 450 seats or over. A C2 contract is under 450 seats. So it's based on projections of ticket sales through the amount of seats in a house. Now, I've performed at the Kennedy Center Opera House. Okay, I was a stage manager. And I actually did mime for one of the shows, Christmas Extravaganza. I wouldn't perform at the house now because it's being destroyed unfortunately, by an individual who has no respect for culture, art, or anything unless it's got his name on it, which is very narcissistic and damnable. We didn't create a country to give honor to a king. We don't do that. And so we could have that conversation, but it's manifested in something else. Let's stick to this because these are the areas for which will protect your investment of you and your art and your services. So continue to scroll down because there's 82 pages. You are on page, what page is this? Page 3. Okay, so the first pages 1, 2, and 3 are really relative to the terms that you need to understand and what they mean in terms of the A, B, C, C1, C2, C3, C4, and D contract levels. Go to page 30 and 33. Let's take a look at that.
30.
Yes, it's like I said, it's 82 pages here, but we want to get to page 30 to 33 because those pages are going to give you some information that will, some of it will blow your mind because you're not quite sure how and much people were getting paid, but I can tell you. Okay, this is what page is this?
30.
Okay, notice artistic consultation. It's and it specifically states the director and or choreographer shall be consulted regarding the casting, understudies, replacements, designers, musical director, orchestrator, dance arranger, assistant director, assistant choreographer, and or dance captain for all covered productions. This contract covers every individual who walks on the stage under this contract. Every one of them. It lists you. If you're not in one of those categories, then you're in another category somewhere else in this contract. But this is what this contract is commanding and demanding protection of all of those people it just named. Housing and transportation is not an accident, folks. Yeah, I'm a director who lives in Winston-Salem. Sheila wants me to come to St. Louis to direct a show. I'm obligated, even if I'm not a union member. I'm obligated to have housing and transportation paid for. That's a guideline, folks. So you don't just bring me into town, then leave me at the bus stop and say, well, we're going to figure you get to the theater by yourself. Or you can be, did you bring a sleeping bag? Because this is where you're going to be staying. Okay. No, no, double no. Make sure your terms of your contract are protecting both your employed services and your social services, your accommodation services, and the respect that is given to everybody else who is a union member. And if you're not a union member, you still demand it. Scroll down. Go to 30, the next page. More of the terms of who this contract, housing accommodations, it tells it, spells it out. If it's more than a half a mile or 1 mile away, the theater is obligated to have a car come pick you up and take you to and from. Okay? Per diem. There's by contract. Per diem gives you money to buy your own dinner. Okay? Gives you money in your hand so that when you come in and they pick me up at the St. Louis airport and they say, welcome to St. Louis, payday's on Thursday. Because I'm going to be looking for that per diem. I don't want to be spending my money trying to starve myself for you. No, you're hiring me because you needed the best and treat me like the best. Scroll down some more. Let's go to the next page. That's 33. Okay, property rights, those rights of media and electronic rights. See, same dialogue, same information keeps popping up because it's standard operating procedure, folks. Scroll down to, go to page 46. Okay. Biographical notes. Once again, my picture, my biography are in the page. Now, tell you a little anecdotal story about a show that started Leonard Nimoy. Y'all remember Star Trek's Spock? Okay, he was in a wonderful show. Well, we got all of the biographical notes, the title page, and on the title page, because I would send it to the printer, and the printer would send me back the galley to look at to make sure everybody's name is spelled correctly and that we were almost in a rush situation. I forgot what it was, but here it had Leonard Nimoy starring in Vinegar. No, not I can't even remember the name of the show now. Very nice person, by the way. But on the title page, instead of spelling his name, Leonard Nimoy, Nimoy, whatever, how he spelled it, they spelled it Nimrod. Leonard Nimrod. It was, panic, panic. Here we are on the day of the show that's, coming in off the road. They came in, and on Tuesday, they come in on a Monday. On Tuesday, they go up. And here we are, opening night at the Fox Theater, or the Peachtree Playhouse at that time, 700 seats, and your star's name is spelled Nimrod. Boy, that went back to the printer that night, and we, instead of having the glossy work of the look of the playbill, because once again, Lord Theaters go with the playbill signature on top of their playbills. That's by contract. And here we had to go and get a rush order that was not the glossy paper, the 10-pound, 20-pound weight of the paper and all the color stuff, but a makeshift opening night program that did not embarrass the star. Contracts. That's why you have all eyes to make sure that contracts are dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and making sure you do not embarrass your producer and my boss, who at that point it wasn't my fault because the last look see didn't come through me. I mean, it goes through other eyes, but when they discovered it, it's like, Home Alone. Oh my God, this can't happen. We're getting ready. You called him a Nimrod too. Okay, but those are the places that we have to understand why a contract is still important. Scroll down to page 54 to 57. As you can see, 82 pages, folks. This is why you have to read the fine print. Okay, here we go. Schedule A, minimum fee schedules. You always wondered how much are the actors getting paid? Minimum. Minimum. Here's the contract schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, this contract was effective April 15, 2024 to 1 year later, April 14, 2025. Now look at the categories. You're A-list. Your contract is A-listed. You got 5 weeks, 5 days of employment or less. Your minimum fee, $35,804. Minimum. Okay, that's why I say you have to understand if you're working on a professional level and even if you're working on an amateur level, it is always important to know the scale that you're working in because this is what the minimum wage is for these people. And some of them get more than that, 50, 60, 70,000 by contract. But their minimum, that's when you need an agent because your agent said, well, wait a minute. You're Theodore Bickel. You're starring in A Fiddler on the Roof, and you're only going to pay him $35,804 for a week's worth of work. Do you know how much he makes if he's on Broadway, and then you want him on the road and you're disrespecting him? He ain't gonna work for you, folks. And I was the production coordinator for Theater of the Stars production of Fiddler on the Roof at the Fox Theater with Theodore Bickel. Okay. These are the folks that I've been working with. Now scroll down some more to the next one because this gets even better. Right there. April 15th through April 14th, 26. Once again, look at the rates, look at the contracts, your A-level contract down to even a C-level. Scroll down some more. D-level contract. All right, so your A, you're making almost 30,000. Your D, 4 weeks, same kind of rehearsal schedule, so you're on the low end, but your minimum is still almost 10 grand. That's good cheddar, y'all. Okay, scroll down to the next one, because it gets even better. Now, this is effective the 15th of April 26 through April 27. We're in this cycle right now. This contract just got signed. And these are the rates. Almost 40,000 if you're on the A list. So Ava DuVernay on Broadway, minimum. That's what she's making. Minimum. Scroll down to the next contract. This contract is for the next 2 years, 27 to 28. And it keeps going up. Scroll down to the next one. And that's it. Oh, no, there's one more. Here we go. Sample prorating calculations. Oh, my goodness. You see, everything is covered. And the questions that you would have, because if you're familiar with the manner in which the unions do protect their 51,000 employees, they are guaranteed this rate. We all want to get paid like this. But that's why I keep saying, just stop working for slave wages. You at least work for minimum scale. Minimum pay. And minimum wage in some places is $7.50 an hour. In the state of New York, it's $15 an hour. Get to know in St. Louis and the state of Missouri, I'm not sure what the minimum wage rate is, but it's guaranteed as a state mandated contractual relationship because the state gets federal funds to execute these guidelines. And when you're a co-signer on that, you are abiding by the Constitution as a co-signature to declaring you the rights and privileges that's supposed to go to each and every one of us. Go down, scroll down some more. Okay. And recognition payment. All of this is covered, folks. And here's the Lord members and stage categories. Now, the reason why this is important, you're in St. Louis. Scroll down to the St. Louis rep, and you'll tell you exactly what contract they're working under as a Lord contract. It's here. And every theater that's located in your region has a
Safety.
yeah, right. Here
Uh,
we got the St. Louis rep. They're a B contract for their main stage and a D contract for their studio theater. So if you're living in St. Louis and you aspire to work at the best, these are the theaters that are considered the yellow card theaters where you can work for that particular minimum fee. And that's all across the country. Now, even here in Winston-Salem. Now, Winston-Salem has Wake Forest University and HBCU, Winston-Salem State University. We're a college town. For the first time in 2024, I don't even know if you remember this, Sheila. For the first time, Actors Equity put a table up at the festival, the International Black Theater Festival. That festival, ladies and gentlemen, in 2024, get, by way of its money being spent for those who came to a week of black theater, spent $15 million in the city of Winston-Salem. And because the growth of the School of the Arts here, the North Carolina School of the Arts, Wake Forest University, all of those schools now have been working with union members, and for the first time, because remember I told you Equity would set up an office if as long as there are at least 100 members. They had a table at the International Black Theater Festival recognizing and recruiting those who came to the festival to make sure that they understood that the festival operates under guidelines regulated by Actors Equity. That's the first time, and that the festival is in its 46th year. So we're getting recognized, folks. And yes, these theaters that are listed here get to know where the companies are that are paying on a specific scale. And then if you're working in these areas and the theater that you're working for is not one of the Lord theaters, at least know what the scale is so that you can command a livable wage. You'll still want to do it for the love of the art, but my God, get paid for your services. That's the respect, okay? So that's and then you can go down to the end because on pages 58 to really to the end, there's the logo that you see on the pages, and then you got the you can go to scroll down. Then you have the contract forms themselves. Very, very important. And each one of those contracts have the same terms as the white paper contract that I showed you at the very beginning. It's just put in a prettier, different scale of work and paperwork, but they're still the same terms, folks. Get to know them. Know your value. This is what this is really all about. How much are you really worth? And if you want to be worth a slave where you get absolutely nothing, that's by your choice. But you got to stop and begin to respect the gift that God gave you. And everybody's enjoying Michael Jackson's movie right now. Did you know how hard he worked to get to be that? And he's been dead how many years now? And they're still loving him? It's like a renaissance. Our culture and our art is one of the most precious things that we've got, folks. Don't give it away unless that's by choice. Command and demand respect. Go to video cue number 7. We'll pick this up because here's the the schedules. What people are really making under those contracts as directors and choreographers. And the equity contracts are very similar with the same kind of scale, so that you understand that if you're working in New York and you're on Broadway, considered the Great White Way, you work on a specific A contract. There's off-Broadway contracts, which are B contracts, C contracts, D contracts. Everybody's got a contract valued based on what happens in New York and as an A list. Keep scrolling down because each one of those contracts and those rates and see how the per diem $300. That's not bad to give you allow you to buy a hamburger. you know, but once again, here's the rate schedule. All of these are giving you an opportunity to understand this is the off Broadway, institutional, not for profit rate. So, yes, in New York, which is anything off of 42nd Times Square down to the lower half of 42nd Street, which is still Broadway. The off Broadway theaters are every theater that's located that's not a part of the central Manhattan Theater District. So, like Cherry Lane Theater is off Broadway, Theater for New Cities, off Broadway. Signature Theater is on Broadway because it's right there, 42nd Street. So each one of those categories that are listed here give you the rates, the specific rates, and then pay attention because they're telling you when the contracts, what timeline they were for. And there's actually one contract in there that was amended mid-contract year, and they because when they signed off on it, they gave everybody a valued raise mid-year of a contract. Okay, let's go to visual cue number 7.
Hello.
Okay.
Hey,
Visual cue number 7.
so
Yeah, there you go. Once again, commercial productions, minimum basic agreement rate schedule. All of these areas, folks, that I've picked and chosen and highlighted are because at some point, if you continue your journey, you're going to want to know what is the rate. How much are they getting paid in New York? You might not get the same pay in the regions, but the regions have a guaranteed minimum based on the relationships they have with those theaters that are acknowledged and co-signers on the union contract. So you got to pay. Go to visual cue number. Was that? Is this number 7? Number 8. Go to visual cue number 9. This is for outdoor musical stock theater. Yes, there's a contract. You're doing a theater outdoors. Now, also acknowledge this. If you're a director slash choreographer, your contract's even more because you're not getting paid for just one job. You're getting paid for both choreographer and director. So somebody like uh, Debbie Allen. Debbie Allen's directing a show. So she's if it's got music and there's choreography in the show and she choreographs it, she gets paid for, yes, being the director and the choreographer. And this contract is based in this agreement here. So don't think she's just getting paid and giving away her time because she's just that talented. And if she's in the play, she gets another contract. All of that is covered by legal documentation. Go to visual cue number 10. This is the outdoor musical stock theater. Okay, all right. Stock theaters. Like say you're going to the Shakespeare Festival out there in Portland, Oregon, and you're working doing several plays, and you're out there and you got a contract specifically just for that. And the terms are equally spelled out so that everybody gets a chance to understand exactly under the conditions for working in stock theater in the outdoor. That's visual cue number 10. Let's go to number 11. And actually, number 11 is the same as number 9, but it's in number 11. This is a click on the first line of the block where it says director choreographer. Yeah. See here, right there. It's asking you, are you being hired as a director Are you being hired as a choreographer or are you being hired as both? See, even the contract specifically identifying your particular hire. That's important because if you only put down director, then you're going to be on the one scale. But if you're directing and choreographer, you're going to get a higher scale of pay. Go to visual cue number 12. And that one is going to be for associates and assistants. See, those other ones were for the main director and the main choreographer. So now you have an assistant director and you got an assistant choreographer. They're under the same guidance, but they have a scale as well and a contract that actually identifies them as an assistant director or the associated assistant choreographer. This is your contract, and here are the terms of the contract. And it's still the same language, but it's specific to the title that's you're hired. Go to Visual Q 13. Visual Q 13. Now, this is the extended form. So your show got extended. You're doing really well. Guess what? The extension is an add-on. So if you've already been paid for the services that you were general contract, but guess what? They want to keep you over for another weekend of performances. That contract it needs a rollover. It's not just a handshake. It's not just a wink and a nod. It's a contract that is given to you for extension that has services that are additional monies to make. All right, let's go to 14. This one is regional commercial agreement. Okay, now commercial is the for-profit theater companies that are commercial programs and get to learn the difference. These are for theaters of 100 to 499 seats. Once again, see how this contract was effective January. This just got signed, folks. This contract is all the way through December 31st, 2027. So you have to keep up and stay alert and aware of what your industry is doing because the terms of a contract are always being negotiated almost every other year, sometimes 3 or 4 years. But it's based on cost of living, it's based on expenses for health and care for your medical needs. It's based on a lot of factors that the federal government by law, it mandates that co-signers on the federal guidelines, by way of their relationship, even though it's whether states' rights, federal rights, the law is established for everyone. And whether you are amateur or professional, you still have rights. Okay? And that was number 13. Step number 14, and there's specific pages to go to on 14. They're all highlighted in yellow, but they actually talk about outside of New York City because New York City has a specific A list, but those are the contracts that you need to take a look at. And it's spelled out, same language, same dialogue, same terms. It's basically specific as indicated where I've highlighted in yellow what particular contract is representing the particular hire. Okay, let's go to visual cue uh, number 15. Okay, this is the remote. So you're working from home. Zoom. I'm working from home and I'm directing a show. Okay, I'm actually virtual rehearsal. I can't be there. So everybody during COVID who was working under a contract trying to get a show together to get it up on its feet, the unions have a contract just for that, for working virtually. And that's important because a lot of things are done virtually now to save money. Okay, well, who is it saving money for? The producer, yes, but you still got to get a contract that service you says that I'm spending time in front of my computer and I got light bills to pay. I got to pay Microsoft. I got to pay Zoom. Okay, so considerations are given to that because there's specific contract from working as they say, from remote. So let's go to video cue 16. Once again, more of about the remote contract and the services rendered. And here are the guidelines. Okay, you need to know the book. Once again, the fine print, the reading of the fine print. All right, going to visual cue 17. Now, visual cue 17 is about a touring writer. Now, for most folks, this is actors equity. For most folks, a writer under a standard contract, for instance, let's say you're the star of the show. You're Gladys Knight and you're doing Smokey Joe's. That was one of the shows that I was production coordinator for. Her and her brother Bubba were in the show. Great show. She comes to Atlanta. She's from Atlanta. The show came off the road from New York. Usually with Jimmy Needlander, the Needlanders, the Joe Jamsons, the Schubert organization. These are the major Broadway touring operations. And so she comes in and she, by writer, wants to flowers in her dressing room. See, the stars are afforded opportunities for a writer. Now, it's up to the producer, but you don't want your star to be pissed off at you. So, in some aspect, if they want Dom Perignon on opening night, some kind of way the producer's going to bend over backwards and say, "Oh, you really were so wonderful. Let's pop that champagne." Oh, and she might say, "Well, it's not for me. It's for me and my husband alone." Well, that's her permission. That's her right. It's written in her contract, and the writer protects you and gives you all the amenities. So you can't have peanut butter in any meals, and the producer is providing a meal for you. Do not bring them peanut butter because if they're allergic, you just violated the contract, and then you really got a problem because that kind of stuff immediately blows up on you, and your face will get blow up with swells, your lips out of shape, and the actor is in misery, and they're like, I can't go on. Most actors, by the way, folks, are usually just down, regular, good people. Then you got some buttheads, I'm gonna call them buttheads, the divas, that want to stretch their limits, but that's when you bring out the book and say to this deputy, the deputy of the actors is someone who's voted by the cast to represent them in confrontational mode so that you never have to have somebody in your face challenging you, because at that point you say, excuse me, the only person I'm going to talk to is the deputy. If there's an issue, do not come see me. Take your issue to your deputy, who will then formally submit a complaint. And if it's the guide, the book, the handbook that equity gives to every producer, I used to have one right along with my constitution. I could refer to the guidebook and says, well, this so and so that by your own union, this is all that I have to do. Now you got to play that game, but it brings down the level of confrontation, because I've seen some folks just go buck wild because they didn't get something that was due them by contract. And when I say ugly, folks, ugly can't even tell you how bad it can get. Okay? You don't want to ever go there. But you see, once again, that contract, that writer protects you, protects your producer, who's your employer, protects you as your employee, so that any arbitration that has to be adjudicated comes to a court, and the judge will say, well, let me read the contract, and if it doesn't match up to what's guaranteed, the judge can make a judgment and arbitrate. That's the indemnification guides that's in every one of these contracts that allows for the protection by law. Okay, let's go to the next number 18. Now, this one I like a lot because this one really is another white paper contract. After doing all the union stuff, look what, even for a low budget and a student film contract. Now in New York City, you got NYU, you got all these wonderful schools, that they've got this theater arts, and when they have their senior projects, they gotta present something. And so you're getting your degree in filmmaking. Well, you are asked to then be the producer, the director, the contractor, the whole thing, and you need to document that protects you, gives permission to the actor to under certain terms and guidelines that have already been established. And this particular document is guaranteeing the protections for even a student film. There's a contract. There's a contract for everything, folks. Don't be afraid of the law. Let the law be your best friend. Okay? Go to that's number 17, 18. Go to number 19. Now, what I just gave you is all about theater, acting, directing. Now let's go to grant writing. And folks, the gold standard is through the federal government, the National Endowment for the Arts. I have served on the Expansion Arts Program. They flew me out to Oakland, California, so I could review a couple of theaters there and report when we had the panel review process. They flew me to several different locations. Okay, get paid to do this as a panel person. It's minimum, but even that's a contract. But the National Endowment for the Arts is very, very important. Let's go to let's scroll down because the table of contents, and folks, let me tell you, you spend hours writing a grant for access to federal funds. They make you jump through Cheerios. They make you jump through Fruit Loops, all to get what amounts to just the nomenclature of getting a grant usually is about 3 to 5% of your entire budget. But there are some companies that get the most. And the trick is, and I've taught grant writing seminars, and the one thing they do not tell you in a grant writing seminar is that the principle of the federal government is a not-for-profit industry. The federal government, this is why our country is just so screwed up right now, because you have oligarchs who think the federal government should run like a Wall Street business. In the history of this country of 250 years, it was set up not to be a for-profit corporation. You raise taxes, you spend money. And when you go to the state capitol, which I've done several times, to lobby for support to the arts, I've had a congressman, I've had assemblymen, I've had state legislators tell me, our job is to raise money and to spend it. And if we spend more than we raise, we go into a deficit. And right now we're talking about our federal government into $1 trillion deficit because it's writing checks that its ass cannot cash. That's a primary need to know about our federal government. It is not a for-profit entity. It is a not-for-profit 501 nomenclature. And basically, the thing they don't tell you as a grant writer is that, yes, it's okay to be a not-for-profit. It's okay to make a profit. But the profit cannot go back to shareholders. It goes back into the organization. So if you're a board member to a not-for-profit organization, you cannot benefit from shares of your stock because you cannot have stock. It's not permissible. Your 501c3 is primarily an educational outreach guarantor that you are a not-for-profit. And yes, you can make a profit, but you must show in your balance book that you raise the amount of money necessary to pay for the things that you have programmed and put into your application, which means it comes back to zero primarily when you put in your information. Now, here's the trick. You can scroll down because I want you to read everything that's highlighted in this document because this is the Bible for all contracts in this country, that for every state arts agency, their application is the same as this document here. There are guidelines for when is the cycle, based on your time zone. You have deadline dates. And if you miss it, as they say, Sorry, SOS. You know what that means. Or SOL, okay? Because they don't play. The competition is incredible. And it's narrowed down to how much money can they donate and give to these organizations. And they're usually, they say it's very objective in terms of the review process. But when it comes down to giving the money, the objectivity runs out the window because somebody's got to say the standard is this group right here, which demands the most money, and this group right here, which is a brand new companies coming in to get money from the federal government, usually are get passed over because they don't have a track record. And I tell you, I'm the kind of facilitator that when I go and I'm reading an application, I pull out one first thing I go to is the page where the financials are, and I pull out my calculator to see if this organization is a welfare organization, which means that they're out there begging for money, or that they are a responsible, business-oriented organization with standards, guidelines, and standards of basic business principles that can be trusted with the money raised from the people's taxes. That's what this is all about. The National Endowment for Art is the standard for all arts organizations. Read the guidelines and then scroll down, because one of the things that they don't tell you, which becomes even more detrimental to trying to put all the hours into getting maybe $1.50 for your program, because they never give you the full amount, but it gets down to the application itself. And as you scroll down to the application, and let's see, stop on page 19. Okay, we're here. This is the money stuff. You always got to talk about the money, because they're going to ask you your most recently completed fiscal year, the one before that, and 2 years before that, so they can make sure that they're tracking that you are responsible for submitting final evaluations that say you spent the money on these programs. If you commingle money, you're going to go to jail. They're going to find out. If you misabuse the money, you're going to go to jail. You don't want to be on the bad side of the federal government when it comes to their money. Okay, go down, scroll down some more, because their effort to restrict funding comes down to the application itself. Keep going. Here we go. Programming. Now, check us out. Programming example. They're telling you how to write how your description should fit the application. 5 fields, 750 character limit. Folks, it used to be back in the day, you had to write a good paragraph to define your request. You had to know the English language. And it used to be that those who spoke the English language in the best manner, and in the composition that you wrote about your organization, usually were the ones that convinced the reviewers, saying, you know what, this is a really good application. Throw that out the window. They haven't used that format in years. Now they're limiting the amount of characters that you can put into a paragraph. And literally at a Morgan Chase, New York City, grant seminar, I asked the question from the bankers themselves. Now that we have text messaging and text shorthand, is it appropriate to use text shorthand in your paragraph? And yes, but they've even reduced that, because when you reduce it to 250 characters, you can't spell out your name with 250 characters, let alone your description. Then you have to make sure it's done by bullet points. This is an attempt to restrict access, not make it open to all. But when you do that, you're beginning to restrict who has the best command of the English language, who has the best command of a presentation that uses bullet points. And if you're Hispanic, and if you're Asian, and your English level skills are not equitable, allowing you to really understand the dynamics of an application, you are once again SOL, because you're of the language that the application itself. And when they talk about, they want you to collaborate with a group, so that if you're doing black theater and you've got the big organization, the St. Louis rep got all the money, and then they want to co-produce something with the smaller black theater company during Black History Month. The Black History organization that's primarily given there to do black history and black theater, they don't get the most money. They give it to the bigger organization. Then you have to subcontract with that organization, but because there's more credit by the organization who gets the most money to disseminate the funds. That puts you behind the eight ball. And that's also restrictive. But read through the dialogue. Make sure you answer every question and be honest. Because someone who's reading it, like myself, who knows the business, because they're all experts, will understand that if you're inflating your numbers, it just jumps right off the page. And that puts you behind the eight ball. Now, I want to go to the next piece, which is the National Endowment for the Arts. This one, folks, this is our visual cue number 20, because I just gave you all of the information about the National Endowment for Arts being the gold standard for federal funding that sifts down to the federal, to the state, to the local arts agency, and they all use the same dialogue. But let's go to, yes, on page, there you go, page, the next page up, keep going, one more page up, yeah, right there, that, yes, click, let's go to that. Because folks, here's the elephant in the room that nobody's going to tell you and talk to you about. This directive came from the Trump administration in the new guidelines for the National Endowment for the Arts. And we all know right now cultural arts organizations are under attack for just being cultural, DEI. Okay? We all know what that's about. And it's been under attack, which means that funding for most of our black theater companies, most of the companies who have now collaborated with other women-owned and minority businesses to help sustain the arts and bring in communities that have normally been excluded from going to the big organization. The National Endowment for the Arts under the Trump administration actually wrote a directive that came out this year to assist you on how to get money to help and sustain your cultural arts organization by way of HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. And when I tell you the language here is what you're supposed to use in your application, because by using this language, which was developed by the Trump administration, is giving you access and permission to bypass the DEI questions. But if you go left or right of what language is here, because there's 58 pages of this dialogue, I'm telling you, use it, copy it, cut and paste it in your application, because by using this language, the facilitators on the other end who are reading your grant application for request are going to say, well, at least they followed our guidelines. You want to get the money, you got to dance to the tune. You don't have to compromise, because then in this is telling you how to get your funding to help support and sustain your diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just don't use that language. Use this language, folks. Otherwise, you're going to be pulling out your hair, and you're going to be really frustrated, because you're like, well, they're not going to give me any money because they're attacking everything that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yes, they are, but you can walk around that. But you got to be smart enough to know that you can still get access to funding. Just guide your programming to assess some of your needs by way of a document that is giving you permission to use the language. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. But if you want to go ahead and tell them that, well, you know, I'm Afrocentric, and my favorite countries are Haiti and Cuba and all the African countries that he called what you know so kind of whole countries. Oh, by the way, you already just said, well, I don't even consider my application. This is the elephant in the room, folks. We're in a battle. And the contract and the law, which, as I said earlier, is the respect for the rule of law, respect for the Constitution, respect that's not being given to the rule of law and order, which is jeopardizing our democracy. This is a battle royale. Put on your God armor and know that we are at war. We are not going back to slavery. We must we must divine revenue streams that help from our community, the athletes, the hip hop artists. You know why everybody wants to get to Atlanta? Because they're all there. It's $1 billion industry. Tyler Perry slept in his car before he began to do Madeira. But anybody it wants to get to Atlanta to work with Tyler Perry. Well, he's not the only game in town. Tyler Perry got all the actors that I helped to bring forward through, like Crystal Fox. She was one of my actresses from Northside School of the Arts, as is Jasmine Guy and other artists who have come out of the Atlanta cultural arts community, very much like the cultural arts community that Sheila Basapo Moyo and the St. Louis Rep and all the folks who are still there. They are the stakeholders. Learn the history, know the value of the history, know the value of a contract so that you can be respected in an industry that is the richness of our culture is because everybody wants to do boots on the ground. Everybody wanted to do the Boogaloo. Everybody wanted to do James Brown. Everybody wants to be the Temptations. Everybody wants to be Michael Jackson. Okay? But if you don't have the right tools in your toolkit, I'm sorry. You're going to be buttoned up against a brutal system. But we break through and we still rise. Now, I want to thank you all. Oh, the business plan. Oh, yes, bring up the last cue, the visual cue, the last visual cue, Sheila, because this is very detailed. And yes, this is good because for the next half hour, we can really give it the Q&A, but bring up that next cue because that's the business plan. Folks, Microsoft created this at least 15 years ago. It's a template. And if you're wanting to get a 501c3 and you got to fill out the information for the IRS nomenclature, this document and this template literally is almost the same dialogue and information that you need to create a representative business plan for your organization. And go to the highlighted areas because it's all, once again, this is standard operating procedures. And if you want to really pursue this, and this type of information relative to your organization, as well as grant writing, as well as contracts, I am for hire, folks. Okay? I am for hire. My services are $100 an hour. Now, don't get scared. Guess what? That's really quite below the standard management of arts consultants and managers, but $100 an hour because I do it in 2-hour sessions and I give you these tools before we even meet so I can assess, are you really ready for the information and the journey that I'm about to take you through? Because if you are, I can guarantee by the end you will have a document, you will have a plan, you will have the respect that your agency and your organization literally is going after, and it's a guide. It's a guide to help you stabilize an industry and an institution that you're giving your life's work to. But don't go in blind. Because where there's one Michael Jackson, there's 1,000. They just don't have the platform. They're just waiting to be discovered. And you know what I'm talking about because you've seen it with your very own eyes. Those of us who've been in the business, you know talent when you see it. And guess what? You really know bad acting when you see it. And so I'm going to call bad acting on our federal government agencies right now because these are some really bad actors. And how bad are they? Saturday Night Live will tell you every week. Okay. Just tune in because they're practically writing the scripts basically from the mouths of the persons themselves, and they're not good actors. They're really putting a bad omen on our industry, folks. So, but this pretty much is the program, the presentation. It's a lot, but we're giving you the gift. And I want to open up the Zoom lines, and for the next 30 to 45 minutes, and we want to welcome your questions, your comments, your conversations regarding the industry, and your personal needs for assistance and professional guidance. Before we get to the Q&A, I'm going to gift you. I'm giving you a gift, okay? an opportunity to enjoy the productions that I mentioned and I talked about that I have recently directed and produced, including a production that our very own host and facilitator, Dr. Sheila Basapo Moyo, who wrote Sister Suffragettes and the Harlem Hellfighters. Now, if you don't know her story, this is a wonderful story about three amazing black women suffragettes. There's a play on Broadway right now. It's called The Suffs, about Susan B. Anthony and the white suffragettes who guaranteed the 19th Amendment and got the right to vote for women. But guess what? Black women were a part of that movement. They were part of the critical part of that movement. And these three women who actually lived in St. Louis. This is a St. Louis story. And not many people know this because when I mention the names, you're going to be like, no way. Well, yes, way. Now, you may not know the main character. Her name was Victoria Clay Haley. She was a suffragette, a mover, a shaker in the St. Louis community. And with her were her best friends. Do you know the name Sarah Breedlove? Where have I heard that name before? Oh, you must be talking about Madam C.J. Walker. Yes, that's who Madam C.J. Walker's real name, Sarah Breedlove. And her third best friend, Ida B. Wells. They all went to the same church. They lived in your community in St. Louis. Now, how many people really know that? They will know that story when they go to see Sheila's play, Sister Suffragettes, because we don't have that story on Broadway yet. This is a show that needs to be right up there. It's not a musical, it's a drama. And then you add in the Harlem Hellfighter. The Harlem Hellfighter that they're representing in this play, his name is Sergeant Henry Johnson. God bless him. Sergeant Henry Johnson was a World War I hero. Celebrated, won the Croix de Guerre. That's the Medal of Honor of France, along with several other Harlem Hellfighters. Look it up. This is American history. Since we're celebrating 250 years of American history, get to know the history of Sarah Breedlove, Madam C.J. Walker, Victoria Clay Haley, Ida B. Wells, and even in Winston-Salem. This is where Sergeant Jackson was from Winston-Salem. Sergeant Henry Johnson. And I go to the barbershop. I'm an OG, guys, ladies and gentlemen. I'm 76 years old. So I go to my barbershop and I tell them about the story because this is a community that's very much aware of Black theater. We have the International Black Theater Festival here for 46 years. So you would think they would know some of their hometown heroes. I go to sit in the barber's chair and then I tell them what I'm doing. They're all really interested because they were like, wow, you really are doing this. You're producing this. You're doing this. And I said, well, I got a story for you, but have you ever heard of Sergeant Henry Johnson? You haven't. Did you know he was a Medal of Honor winner? Not just won the Croix de Guerre, but posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor by Barack Hussein Obama, our president. Honored him. And you don't even know your own hometown hero. This is why we got to commit ourselves to telling the stories that are truthful, historic in nature, so that when they start taking our names out the history books and start reducing our stories because they don't feel as if it's something important to our community and embarrasses them because it's wrapped up in racism and white supremacy, you know what? I'm sorry for you. But we are the griots, the griots. We are morally bound to protect our legacies, our stories. And if our kids don't know these stories, how do you expect them to sustain and survive in a community and in a nation right now that's attacking them every single day? You are stripping them of their weapons. Give them the weapons to defend themselves. Truth that is crushed to earth shall always rise again. This is a moral imperative, not just a battle cry. It's an imperative. We must protect our stories. So I'm going to give you a gift. Each one of you all are going to get, it's in your chat box. If you go to the chat box, you'll look at those pictures that I posted because I want you to see the stories that are available to you right now. You can go to Frank Silvera Writers Workshop. Put that up on the screen so that they can actually see what we're talking about, Sheila. Click on page 9, the uh, of the story. Go to the script. It's at the top. The script itself. Yeah, right there. The business of show business at the bottom. Is that the script? That's after number 21. Click on that. Double click on that. It's the last one on the line. Your cursor's already on. Yeah, there you go. Double click that. Does that take us back to the script? There you go. The script. Yeah, there you go. Double click on that. Okay. And then when it comes up, let's go to that page 9 where the uh, Frank Silvera Writers Workshop information is located. Did you double click it? Anyway, so if you've got questions while she's pulling that up, because we want you to see this, yeah,
Do you
put
see
double
it?
click. Well, it's on, it's
Wait a
on,
minute. I
it's on your
started.
control. Yeah, that's okay, because it's in that.
Okay.
Yeah, go to the script.
All right. Here we go.
Okay, okay. This is if you click on the FSWW www thefsww.org. This was what's come up. Click on accept the cookies on the
Accept
bottom. Accept the
cookies.
cookies at the
Oh,
bottom.
okay.
Click on that. Accept. Okay. Now go to the FSWW YouTube page, and let's see what comes up. Now these are the plays that were done as readings, and as it's queuing up, you get a chance to see a listing for Sister Suffragettes, Yazoo, Mississippi, Ptomaine Poison, which was written by Dr. Janice Lydell, Queen Opal's Walk for Freedom. That was the visual up on the front of the screen. That's a play that Dr. Janice Lydell and I were commissioned to write a new Broadway musical about the life of Dr. Opal Lee. Now this is the critique, but you want to click on the double click on the play itself, the one underneath, the 2 hour, and yeah, click on that, double click on that. Now watch what happens. This is a an attempt by a company. Put it on the widescreen. Yeah, there you go, and just let it play. Yeah, there you go. Click on the volume. It's at the
Okay.
bottom. There you go, and push go and let it roll. This was developed by the Frank Silvera Writers Workshop. That's the critique session, the wrong one. That's the you want to go to that because you listen to the people who were in it and the family. Close that one down, Sheila. You want to
Want me
close
to
this?
close it down?
Yeah, close this one because you want to go to the one that says that is the play itself. This is the critique session afterwards. Those are my
Okay.
actors. I had 8 wonderful actors who portrayed. But you want to go back to the menu again. Yeah, close
Okay.
that.
Let's see. I close it. Stop share.
Yeah, just stop share. Then go back and pull up and click on the uh, go back to the menu of the Frank Silvera Writers Workshop.org, the FSWW.org, and you'll see. But here, folks, while she's bringing that up, because it's been a long day, the technical aspects of this is showing you how there's an organization that will assist you. It won't cost you anything. Information is actually free. But you need to see how we are addressing the needs of us as a cultural arts organization using AI, using tools that are Zoom tools that allows us to storyboard a story, a script, so that you can get a visual idea. Table readings for theaters are to me, are some of the most boring readings allowed. Okay, because you're basically sitting down and trying to read the script with all the new actors. But So go back to the FSWW YouTube, click on that, and when that comes up, you want to go not the first one, not the moderated critique. You want to double click on the one that says 2 hours and 9 minutes and 11 seconds. Double click on the second one. Yeah, double click that one. Okay. This is the actual reading, folks, and I guarantee you, put it on the big screen so that you can actually see how a readings theaters company, that the Obie Award winning company, and by the way, the Obie Award was won on my watch for playwriting development. But this, and put the sound up. You want to make the sound. You want them to hear the music. Anyway, this is where you get a chance to see who are the actors, the story, about 86 years of a life. This is my young star from a theater in Los Angeles, a performing arts school. Now this is Gail Turner. Gail Turner was Stephanie Mills' understudy in Broadway on The Wiz. Beautiful voice. Adrian, she's in Atlanta. Donald Henson is in Atlanta. He worked with the Negro Ensemble Company. This gentleman, Bismarck Quintilia, works at a theater called that's in Fort Worth. This sister right here, Kay Marion, lives in High Point and has a voice like Minnie Riperton. Another Latina that lives in Fort Worth, Texas. So John Hayden. John Hayden is in Atlanta, was the former vice president for Screen Actors Guild. This is Kimberly Gunn. She's the wizard that has put all this. And Garland Thompson Jr. This is Garland Thompson Sr.'s son. Now that's Frank Silvera. That gentleman right there played in more movies as he was literally the Sam Jackson of his time, but he and this gives him his story so that you understand the dynamics and the history of an organization 50 years old. And by the way, Garland Thompson Jr.'s father, Garland Thompson Sr., was in the first episodes of Star Trek as the Beam Me Up guy. He was one of the few black people in Star Trek, and he had mutton chops for a beard, mustache, and they told him if he didn't shave it off, he couldn't continue. He chose not to shave off his mutton chops, and he got fired from the role. But he was one of the first African Americans to be in Star Trek, the series, and he also the Broadway musical, the movie South Pacific. Garland Thompson Sr. was in South Pacific. And if you go through history and theater history, they'll tell you how big South Pacific really truly was, because it was the first time that minorities and white folks played on Broadway together. And his father, Garland Thompson Sr., was in that movie. That was his first movie experience. And as it says here, this is the first time an African American male kissed a white woman in a movie that was written by the same guy who wrote the movie 2001: Space Odyssey.
Should
So
I
we're
stop
giving you,
share
yeah, you can stop. You can stop the share
for
and
Q&A?
then your Q&A, because the second piece is actually a Zoom production called Social Insecurity. But I want you all to have a chance to taste of the flavor of the industry that you probably are not aware of, because, well, it's almost like Hidden Figures. So let's open it up. You can turn on your visuals, your audio, and uh, your what do you call it? Your screen picture. And if you want to ask questions and have a conversation, let's talk about the business. Because the business right now, this is the business why you're here. You have some opinions, I'm sure, not only of the presentation, but also of the industry and how it's impacted on your lives. I want to hear your stories. I want to know what were you doing your journey to, being in the industry, how you have seen it grow, what challenges have you had to deal with, and any questions you want to have about contracts, because I know there's so much information here, folks, but I want to hear from you. So don't be shy. Tell us who you are. Yeah, there you go. She's raising her hand. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Kathleen.
Hi, I'm
Welcome.
Kathleen Gamble. I am a
Thank you.
playwright
Yes.
and director
Yes.
and stage manager. And what I wanted
We're,
to say was that we are currently, I'm stage managing a play,
mhm.
and there was a young actor we met, and
Yeah.
we told her how much she would get paid.
Yes.
But she didn't know that. We just had it, we texted to her, whatever, trying to see if
Hmm.
she was interested.
Hmm.
And she said, "Oh, no, I can't pay that. Do you have a scholarship?" And we told her, "No, we're not looking for you to pay us that amount, but we want to pay you."
Right.
And through that, I found out that now there are some small theater groups that are asking those who want to be in the play to pay them money.
Now, see the ethics
I
of
had
that.
never heard of that
Oh,
before.
me neither. Well, I have and I haven't, but you know the ethics of it stinks. Okay, because if you were trying to pay someone to be in a show, doesn't that doesn't that actually defeat the
Zeroes it
purpose?
out or
Yeah,
something. Mhm.
yeah. The ethics of it
Oh,
is
Sister Betty,
yeah.
I'm on
So
a Zoom. Can I call you back?
so
Oh,
anyway, Kathleen, my
mhm.
share with that individual, you because you're going to get a copy of this. You're going of this seminar workshop. We're going to create a YouTube. You're going to get a copy of this. Share it. This is not proprietary. This is for everybody. And she needs to be brought and educated about the business, the industry. It's because you see the one hit wonders, those who get out there and they got this dream in their head. They think they're the next great star. They might just very well be. But if you have to pay somebody to put you on stage, then you're defeating the reason for even having a casting
Mhm.
audition. If that's
Right.
the case, produce your own show. Don't pay them.
Mhm.
Produce your own show. Do your own video, visual, and I guarantee you, because the process of doing what you just saw as part of the visuals and the plays that I'm hoping that you get a chance to take a look at, you have to understand the one show that is only actually a produced production is Social Insecurity, which Frank Silvera Writers Workshop and Zoom Catchers, they work together, help co-produce that. And I guarantee you, if I asked you how much would you think it cost to make that particular production video, it'll blow your mind because the value of the photography, the value of the special effects is high grade. But I'm going to tell you the secret. And probably in the critique session, it might be mentioned, but it only costs $2,000.
Mhm.
$2,000 to do that high grade technical work that you are seeing. What it did would pay the actors, each act of the 8 actors, because the casting for Queen Opal's Walk for Freedom is a cast of 20. I had 8 actors doing multiple roles. It was a teaser basically, but the 8 actors are very professional. You don't get a understudy from Broadway like Gail Turner, who was Stephanie Mills' understudy in The Wiz, to perform in a project like this without paying her. So she understands that this is a journey that if it's in development right now, we're out looking for investors. This is if we take this show to Broadway, it's going to cost us $16 million just to get it on its feet. So where are we going to
Okay.
get that kind of money? You understand? Now,
Well, that's what we said. We thought that that's the way that they're going to meet their budget is by having the actors
no.
pay in order to be a part of their play.
And
And so we told her, no, we don't roll like that. We don't do that.
it's the most
So,
egregious it's the most egregious scam I've heard in quite some time.
okay.
That really is a very bad scam, and that theater, whoever they are, they need to be called out on that
Well, they say
because
that's becoming quite regular now
that's something
with
that they
small
need.
theaters.
Yeah, with small theater companies because they're see when they lose that funding, and it's quite interesting, Kathleen, because I get letters from when it comes time to do that year-end charitable donation. You know, we have Black
Mhm.
Friday, we have Cyber Monday, and then we have Giving Tuesday. Well, Giving Tuesday is the end of the year
Right.
context of making sure you get that tax deductible donation
Mm-hmm.
by giving to a charity, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately you know you're giving a waiver by using your discretionary funds to help assist an organization you've taken a liking to as a
Right.
501c3. But everybody does that. But when DEI got under attack, I started getting letters from white theaters, Jewish theaters, Asian theaters, Native American theater companies. You'd be surprised because they're all losing funds and they're all saying, oh my God, how are we going to make up the revenue that we just lost? It didn't
Mm-hmm.
amount to but like 3 to 5% of their budgets most of the time anyway, but that 3 to 5% was able to pay for something. Now, when that something goes away, then you're going to come up with an idea to have actors pay for being in a show. That defeats the purpose. That's a scam that needs to be stopped, and you need to tell people and tell the community that you're being abused, and it's almost like sharecropping. We already know the value of sharecropping, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's another form of slavery.
Right.
But it's like a poll tax, okay? So now you got to have a passport. Who can afford $100 passport and all you want to do is use your vote? Go to the polls. That's a poll tax. We've come through a 400 years of being abused and put into a system that abuses our talents, abuses uses us for pawns. We're not really one man, one vote. The electoral college is about 3/5 of a vote. And if you know the history of Missouri, you understand it was brought in as a slave state versus a
Right.
free state because Kansas came in as a free state. And then you'll hear the story about John Brown. Well, John Brown was all the way from the East Coast, came to fight for the
Kansas.
rights of the slaves in Lawrence, Kansas, as a that was committed to be a free state.
Should we
So
move
we
on
have,
to the next question? I'm sorry,
yes. So go
Byron.
ahead. So
It's
I can wax
going to
on
6
that one.
o'clock.
That's all right. Yes, come on. Next question. Who has a question? Thank you, Kathleen, for sharing that because we need to expose that. That's horrendous what they're doing. And that young actress will be scarred for the rest of her life because she'll think that's the way the industry is supposed to work. We got to stop that. Yes, anybody? Rosalind or
Oh,
William?
yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The Constitution,
Yes,
could
ma'am.
you tell me, uh, I didn't hear all of the title of it and where I
Yes.
could get it.
Okay, the Constitution is a pocket copy. Okay, it's a pocket copy that I carry around with me. You can
Yes, a
actually get it.
pocket copy.
Yes, a pocket copy. There's a short, and there's even an African American version that breaks down the Constitution based on cultural identity politics. But the copy that I have, let's see, where did I put it? I put it somewhere. I was holding it. Oh,
I
well, here we
got
go.
a
Yes, here it is.
copy
Yeah,
free
and you, yeah, you
in
can get a free
different
copy.
locations,
Yeah, just
like the History
Google.
Museum.
Yes, in fact, let's see, the National Center for Constitutional Studies. Here's the phone number: two zero
Okay.
eight 208 645 2625, And their website is www dot N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, S as in Sam, dot net/PC. And I guarantee you, they will send you a copy. You need to walk with
Okay,
this because,
thank you.
folks, remember this 12 Years a Slave, that movie, was about a
Mm-hmm.
free man picked up in
Right.
Washington,
I saw
D.C.,
it. Mm-hmm.
okay,
Okay.
and was forced into slavery until the abolitionist movement discovered that they had swept a free man off the street to force back into slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Our stories are rich with that so that we understand what's going on right now with these deportation tactics and crap that they're doing. Slave laws. And we want to talk about what's happening in Cuba and Haiti. You know, it's sinful but that's another story. William, do you have any questions? Uh,
I do.
yes, sir.
I want to
Talk
say,
to me.
first of all, thank you
Can you hear me? Thank you for your
Yes.
time today. It has been very, very informative. And also, thank you for the work that you're doing with Opal Lee and the Juneteenth.
Yes. Thank you. This is
That's
a
been very interesting. And
yes,
I
sir.
think I froze. I think I froze. But yes, so there are a couple of things. One is, how do I find? I am in the Dallas Fort Worth
Yes, sir.
area, and I'm trying to find the smaller theaters to kind of go and watch theater
Okay.
and to get in that what do they call it, eco space or that
Okay.
environment
I got two
to be
theaters
around
for you.
other artists.
I I got two great theaters for you.
All right.
Curtis Young, Curtis uh over in the Dallas
King, Curtis
yeah,
King.
Curtis King, one of my dearest of friends.
Yes.
Excellent theater. Curtis is a
Okay.
visionary. Curtis, and tell him you met me and you know me because when he did the
I
25th
will.
anniversary of the March on Washington at the Kennedy Center, Curtis called me and said, I need a stage manager. Would you help me stage manage that show? I came down from New York and stage managed that show at the Kennedy Center. He
All
was on the
right.
left side, I was on the right side. And we had a great show. I have met Emmett Till's
Ah,
mother was in that show. Halle Berry was in that show. I mean, it was a who's
all
who
right.
of everybody, lottie dottie anybody, but it was an honor to work with Curtis as a dear friend, and he's a visionary. Then you have Jubilee Theater in Fort Worth.
Yeah, they tell me. Okay, Jubilee. All
Isn't
right.
that the
Yeah.
one
So
Fanny told you about?
yeah,
Isn't that the
both
one
of them. Yeah,
Fanny
she
told you
told me
about?
about Jubilee. I gotta find out what
You got yes,
down
Marion.
here.
Yeah, go to Jubilee Theater. Now, remember I told you about the show, Mom's Mabley? They just got through doing that show. I helped to
Yes.
dramaturg that script with the writer, and it played at Jubilee Theater, and now it's in Las Vegas. I understand. Okay, but you
All
need to
right.
go to Jubilee Theater because the founders, the Eastmans, Marion Eastman, her husband's passed away. Marion Eastman is one of the producers of the Queen Opal's Walk for Freedom.
All right. Okay.
So,
All
Okay.
right.
William, I
Okay.
guess that
Thank
means you're not coming back to St. Louis to be in my play. Is that what that means, William?
you.
You're not
I
coming back
am.
to St.
I
Louis to be in my play.
I
Uh,
love. Listen. I love St. Louis. Wait a minute. Watch this. I would definitely come back to St. Louis to be in your trade, but now I know this contract law. Now you
there
got
you
to pay
go.
for my
Come
transportation
on, talk
and
to
my per
me.
diem, and you got to pay for my housing. I'm
Okay,
teasing.
that's all
I'll come
right.
back
That's all right.
anytime.
Go on to
See,
Jubilee.
I'm
now,
teasing. I'm so
listen,
sorry. I'll
that's
come
okay.
back anytime.
But Kathleen, I got to tell you, you can trade out. We are the people of bartering.
All right.
Okay,
I
don't let
remember that.
Wakanda fool you. Wakanda knows how to bring the
Right.
table issues so that we can bargain. Bargain.
Okay.
That's an African tradition.
Hmm.
Okay? So understand, it's in our DNA. So if you can't put me up at the Hilton, what about the
No,
pastor's church at
Ah,
home?
I'm
Okay.
happy to
Or
come
what
back
about
for free. I
Oh,
love
well,
St.
hey,
Louis.
oh, there you go. There you go. Now we're talking. That's great. But see, once again, I'd love to hear you use the dialogue from this particular workshop because once you begin to use it, it becomes critical for all of your negotiations, establishing protection of your God-given anointed talent. Because like I said, we're the most philanthropic group of people on the planet Earth. We'll give it away. I mean, you're looking at all the dance challenges right now, but you've seen the James Brown one, you know, no syrup, cereal, no sugar. Everybody's doing the little James Brown walk. But guess
oh,
what?
yeah.
Queen
Yeah.
Opal's Walk for Freedom
Hmm.
this is critical. As I told Dion Sims, the granddaughter of Opal Lee, she's running for U.S. Congress of the 25th district.
Oh, is she?
Yes, she is. Dion Sims. She beat her white Democratic primary opponent, but she's running against the 22nd most richest man in the U.S. Congress,
Hmm.
a car salesman whose ethics are as bad as Paxton's.
Hmm.
Yes, but and it's a shot in the dark. It's a bucket shot. But guess what? If we don't take the initiative, You are the granddaughter of a woman who walked from Fort Worth to D.C. to get the legislation. It's in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? My DNA. Y'all just met me. But my father was a graduate of Tennessee State. My mother's a graduate of Fisk. My father was the National Alumni Association back in the 60s. He was the president. My mother was a summa cum laude. She was an AKA. Constance Motley was her soror. My mother's mother was a graduate of Fisk, and she was a classmate of W.E.B. Du Bois, was sang in the Fisk Jubilee Singers, but most importantly, her first cousin was the first and seventh president of Liberia. Now, I just told you that history. Why is that not in a history book? That's a
Mm-hmm.
story. That's
Mm-hmm.
a legacy. And each and every
Mm-hmm.
one of you all have a story that is just as rich as mine. But if we don't have a chance to tell it, sell it, market it, put it up on the boards, put it in a history book, who's going to know?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why, I mean, to be gifted, and to me, it's an anointing. To when they commissioned me and Dr. Lydell to do the story of Dr. Opal Lee as a Broadway musical, they flew us. They flew me from Winston-Salem. They flew Dr. Lydell. We spent a whole week with Dr. Opal Lee, walking with her, eating with her, understanding, because everywhere we went, I didn't know this woman's magnetism, because like when you read in the Bible and it says that Christ would come into town, people wanted to touch, I mean, we wrote songs, they wanted to touch the hem of his garment, they just wanted to be with him. And when everywhere Opal went, we went, and we toured Fort Worth, and everywhere she went, blacks, whites, Hispanic, Asians, all came up to her and wanted to touch her, take a picture with her. And she was just that giving. And I was like, oh my God, how many times do you get a gift like this? And all you have to do is write a story based on her life and share it with the world before she lives and dies. She's 99 years old. She ain't got much left on this ticket. But you know something? When Joe Biden signed the legislation, he knelt at her feet in the Oval Office on the legislation signing ceremony, gave her the pen, knelt at her feet, and said to her, "You are the queen of Juneteenth." And I asked Dr. Lee two questions. I asked her, one which was relative when she was 12 years old. But that question, I said, well, what else did President Joe Biden say to you? He whispered something to you, and she did just like this. A woman never tells. Now that, and then her first time going to a Juneteenth celebration was when she was 9 years old. At 12
Mm-hmm.
years old, they moved to that house that she lives in right now, and KKK took everything out of that house because they were integrating that community, and they burned all of their private possessions, all her toys, all her brother's everything. They didn't burn the house. They burned their private stuff. And she tells this story, and I said, she's not better known as Grand Deer, like Mud Deer, Grand Deer. I said, Grand Deer, what was your first thought when you saw all your stuff destroyed, your first impact with racism at a level that most people can never understand? And she says, all I could think about was I had to get up and go to school the next day. Now, commitment from a 12 years old to have that as her MO and then pursue it as a teacher at Wiley College. You know the story of the great debaters. She went to that school. She had
Mm-hmm.
4 kids before she even graduated. And yet her reason for being, she had to get an education. And I guarantee every one of your parents, my parents, your grandparents, all said, we just want you to get that degree. Your first generation, now your second generation. And as we are all across the country, as they're walking across the stage, look at what is really celebrated. I have a friend who's an anthropologist. She says, Byron, and she's an African-American woman who teaches at NYU. She said, of the slave trade, the Middle Passage, the slaves that they picked up off of mother continent Africa were not slaves. They were the intellectuals. There are 25 identified tribes who were brought to this country. And every time we celebrate homecoming, it is not the football game. Yes, the band is awfully great. It's about the intellectuals of those 25 tribes actually coming together to have impact about their destiny and why it's important that we understand who we are as a people. Now, why aren't you learning that in school? Why are they afraid of this? Because they know we're kings and queens. We're God's people. Put on your God armor. We're at war right now. And you have to have these tools in your kit because this is not playtime, y'all. There are more people who danced to Boots on the Ground and who saw the movie Sinners than who participated in voting in the current primary elections. That's like that child being told she has to pay to be on stage. Unacceptable. So we have to have seminars and conversations like this so that we who have gone through the challenges, have been on the journeys, who are the foot soldiers. You may not be the person running the office, but you were there. And the reason why you're still alive, because you hold the secret, you hold the truth to the current dilemma that we're in. We have an obligation to go to war right now. If boots on the ground is your dance, then damn it, it is a war dance. It is not a ritual for mating. Okay? Step dancing.
Other questions?
Yes.
Other questions?
Anybody else, please?
Yes. I want to know, where can we stream your movies?
It's free access. Just go type it. That's why in the chat box, if you see, we give you the information. You can literally go on. It's free. Won't cost you nothing. Type in www.thefs as in Frank, S as in Sam, www.org. That will take you directly to the Frank Sylvia Writers Workshop site. It will give you access to everything that is, I've told you, that's free. It won't cost you nothing to watch because it's an educational moment, and share it.
Okay.
I've personally, in the last couple of weeks, I've been to 2 weddings, and weddings for a woman who is 86 years old. No, her husband is 86. She's in her 60s, but guess what? Her name is, she's in the play Sister Suffragette, Vicky Ross. Now, Vicky ceremony, they got married in December, but they had their ceremony in Florence, South Carolina over the weekend. And while there, not only was she there and her family and friends, but the mayor of Florence, who happens to be an African-American woman, and I gifted her. I said, I'm going to give you a gift because I want you to take this video and you show this to your grandchildren, show this to your family. And the guy that she was married is 86 years old, very, very prominent, beautiful home. And I said to his daughter, who was just now retiring as school teacher, and her last days of teaching is about to come up, I said, now, before you leave those kids, show them this film. They need to know who Dr. Opal Lee is. They need to know why we're celebrating Juneteenth. And you need to know this history. So I'm gifting you this right now. Take it, look at it, and if you think it's worthy of showing, share it with your family, friends, because we're building an audience. We're building investors. Like I said, if taking it to New York is $16 million. Right now, we need about $350,000 just to get it up on its feet. But the only way we're going to do that is if it's got to do it one by one and sell it. And by the way, John Gales Jr., who's my producer, one of my executive producers, is in Fort Worth. He's the son of John Gales Sr., the basketball coach out at Terrell High. You know who I'm talking about. So yes, those are the names you'll see. Those are the folks who helped to bring me to Fort Worth. And then, of course, you've got your very own Sheila Basapo Moyo, doctor, right there in St. Louis, and her first play gets to be produced. Oh, my God, she is a prime example of why all of this works. Because right there in your own backyard in St. Louis, and she's servicing senior citizens, which is another one of the markets that we have to get out and touch, because I joined this. Remember, and I told you I was a civil rights activist? Well, my involvement is because I went to Hampton with Elizabeth Omalami, which is Hosea Williams was her father. And she came to DC and asked me, would I come to Atlanta to help start a theater company working with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference? So when I tell you, I never met Martin Luther King, but Yoki, the current King's kids, they're all friends of mine. John Lewis was a personal friend of mine. Julian Bond was a personal friend of mine. Andy Young's first wife was my chair of my Just Us Theater Task Force. His brother was my dentist. These are all my personal friends.
There we
Yes,
go, Kathleen.
So with Sheila and some of the other people that honor, was that a festival or something, or a contest she entered, or how did she get her play?
She submitted it to the Frank Silvera Writers Workshop as a consideration for the reading series.
Okay.
Of that year. We did
Okay.
40 readings of new plays.
Wow.
40.
Yeah, Sheila.
And Sheila rose to the top, I'm telling you. And when it was so interesting because she was, as she said, she was really nervous. Okay, and Sheila had just come from going to the Black Theater Conference,
Oh, okay.
which
So
is
that
the
was when it
week
was here
Black
in St.
Theater
Louis.
Network.
the Black Theater
Okay.
Network, which was the week before the festival. So she got her feet wet, literally. And then she came to the festival, and then she was looking for a director and actors, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know how, if it can make this work." And then when she had the reading, the comments were that it was too didactic, because Sheila's an academic. She's academic. She's got the PhD in education, so she really was. This was her first play ever written, and then
Well, we
basically,
performed her play, called The
the-
Conscience. We performed her play,
yes,
and it was very good and everything. And thank you, Sheila, for taking some of my suggestions. I saw
Yes,
the stuff
it
literally,
in there.
was
because
a
that's what
wonderful
dramaturgy.
aspect,
Yes,
and it was such an honor also to have Call to Conscience do the play. And what was so interesting is we had the different projections on the screen of the images that um, were matched together with the actors. And
yes,
so that technology, that level of technology was so engaging.
yes.
And another aspect of how one can use the technology with the plays. So
I'm so
Okay.
proud of her work
It
because
was very good.
she believed.
mhm.
She was the collaboration, and when I told her right from the very beginning, because I used the commentary of the surveys that the folks at the festival really wrote about, very constructive criticism. Nobody tore it down. They loved the concept, the idea. They had no idea these three women were actually friends. Okay, and then when we started to develop it, as I recall, I said, now we have to pull this apart like it's a crime scene evidence room. You put everybody up on the bulletin board. And then we got to figure out who's connected to who. Because if you mention this on page 4 and you don't use this anywhere else in the script,
Right.
then why did you even tell me that? Because
Right.
that's not going to work. Audiences are smart. They are like, they want to follow it. They don't want they don't want to be beaten over the head with too much, but they really want to be able to enjoy it. And so as a dramaturg, I always told her, I said, I'm not going to tell you how to write this, but what if? What if Sergeant Johnson actually came to see her? Or what if the girls, as best friends, because I said when they leave the conference with the other white women, and you got Ida B. Wells, and you got Madam C.J. Walker's, and you got Victoria Haley, and then you're sitting down and after that, and you say, "Boy, that white women, boy, they were tough. Can we talk? Let's go in. Let's have some fried chicken and have some meal. Let's have a real conversation." But that's because I said I want our audiences to know that these were BFFs. They loved each other. They mentored each other. They
One
wrote
thing
letters to each other.
one thing I learned about playwriting is that it's a collaborative process, and so working with Byron for I don't know how many weeks, Byron, we worked together about
We
6 weeks.
had yeah, 6 weeks,
Mhm.
we had 6 sessions, 2 hours
Six
each. So
sessions,
yeah,
right? it
And in those
really
6 sections,
put the meat on the bones for the play. So
oh yeah.
I just want to say that. But I know this has been a long session, and I'm not sure if you all thought it would go to this time, but
Yeah.
do you think
We
we need
really appreciate it.
to
Oh yeah, we can wrap it up.
wrap it up?
Yes, because here's the
Yeah.
thing for Sheila, as I told you, you
Mhm.
are servicing an agency that's facilitating information. You're an angel. Continue to do that because to pick up that mental and challenge for yourself to share the wisdom. Isn't that what we're supposed to do now in our twilight years? Share the wisdom, folks.
Yes.
The brain trust that's here right now is incredible because you've all come through the journey, the middle passage. We're still, as Maya Angelou said, and still we rise. I mean, there's still a lot of juice in this life thing that we call life. Don't just sit there watching TV or and get into the real world. Leave the virtual world to those who want to go to Disneyland. I have no problem with that. Okay. But come wake up tomorrow and let's realize this Memorial Day weekend, who started it? It actually was co-opted into the government because on May the first one was in Charleston, South Carolina. 10,000 people showed up at racetrack and all African Americans honoring Decoration Day, honoring
Yeah, that's what
those
it
who
should be
fought in the
called.
Civil War,
Decoration.
honoring our black soldiers. And then the federal government said, well, wow, there must be something to this. So what? Let's create a Memorial Day weekend, or let's put a race car series in it, or let's do a lot of things, but don't even mention the fact that black people started it.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
Well,
Right.
thank.
But
And
yes, we can continue this conversation. You have my information. You want to, I mean, I freely work for the opportunity to represent you as a client, but I don't hold back the information because I am a facilitator of history. I have that in my commitment to make sure I tell my people's stories and help guide us to the promised land.
all right.
Um, I do
Okay?
have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Since your history goes all the way back and you're to Liberia,
Yes,
have
ma'am.
you thought of writing your own story?
Every single day. I mean, my
I mean,
even my cousin keeps saying, Byron, you got to tell our story, the Meacham
yeah,
family
right.
story, and he's right because now that I'm in this opportunity to slow myself down in this community in Winston-Salem, I have time to write the book, write the journey. And here's something really I did not know this. Winston-Salem has a very vibrant Liberian community.
Um,
And I found out that they have been raising money here to build dormitories for foreign students coming from Liberia who are going to Winston-Salem State University, who are going to North Carolina State University, who are going to Wake Forest, because they need to have safe places for these communities. And when they left America on the ship that went to Liberia with the freed slaves, some of those folks came from right out of this community. I didn't know any of this. And it's been a journey of awakening. Revelations is about being awakened. As the young kids say, get woke. And ultimately, I did not know any of this, but by way of my roots, by way of my research and development, by way of pursuing knowledge, I've been able to acknowledge and recognize the family tree that I represent. And so I love sharing the stories because I want to know your story. I want to know when Sheila and I met, we didn't know each other, but over the over the timeline of the when we first connected, we've become friends and family, extended family. And that's important because now all are part of my extended family.
Yeah, I feel
Even you,
about
William.
everybody on this
That's right.
thank
Zoom.
you.
That's right, exactly. And
Thank you
so
for your presentation.
thank you, and we shall
Thank
Thank you,
you.
continue
Thank you
that.
Byron.
very much.
And we'll, as I said, you'll get the video copy because we're going to create the YouTube version and then share it please share the stories. And we hope to see you at a theater sometime in the near future. And you can remind
International
me.
Black Theater Festival.
There you go. Come on down to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winston-Salem and have
Yeah.
some fun. In fact,
And
What is
come
also,
what
come home
weekend
also,
to
is it?
come home
It's
to Winconda.
Ju
Last week of
July
July
28th to
to the
August
first,
2nd,
yeah, something
and
like that. First week.
I think there's still space on the bus. Wendy
There
Gordon
probably is.
has a bus going, and I decided to take the bus, and so is
well, you taking the bus and
Fanny.
see.
I
Don't
think
forget to
Fanny.
don't forget to make your shoebox filled with chicken and potato salad and some biscuits. You know y'all gonna need that. Remember the Green Book. Y'all don't want to stop at the Howard Johnson's because they ain't right.
That's right.
And also,
I will
Sheila,
get with you, Dr. Sheila,
all right.
because I'll drive down.
See,
Oh, you're
Oh,
there you
gonna
go.
okay.
drive down because
Yeah.
you're
But what
in
about the hotel
Raleigh,
though?
right?
Yes, that's what I'll get with you on the hotel information.
Oh, okay, okay. Kathy,
Also, Sheila,
yeah.
I'd like to announce that I was going to send out an email to a text to everyone that my play about my play will be going up July the 12th at the History Museum because they're closing out the Mill Creek
Oh,
exhibition. And so
uh-huh.
they hired me to write a play about Mill Creek. And
Oh,
so that'll
beautiful.
be going up
Congratulations.
on Tuesday at 2 o'clock on the 12th. That's on a Sunday.
2 o'clock.
So those of you who are
Send me
out of
the
town,
information. Send me the information so I can post it on my Facebook page.
okay.
I have 5,000 on one page and 5,000 on another page, but ultimately it don't cost you nothing because I'm not interested if you're picking your nose and picking your toes. What I really want to make sure is because every single day I post this moment in Black history from the African American Registry. I will give you daily history. And if you have promoting something like this, send me the details. Send it through Sheila
You have a
or get my
flyer?
information, and I will
Yes, we have the
post it.
flyers made up. The
Okay,
flyers
super.
already made up.
Okay,
Just email it to me, please.
the
Yeah.
History Museum made it.
I'm sorry.
Is
What
it
did you
on the
say?
The
History
history,
Museum?
It's gonna
is
be at
it
the
through the
history.
history?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wrote it, and so they only choose like
Create
one
the
or two
plot.
plays a year. So I
Mhm.
wrote it,
Right.
and they're gonna have me up.
Congratulations.
That is
Absolutely.
Okay,
fantastic.
right.
Um, and
Okay.
actually, this is how we go out with a bang.
Okay, thank you,
And a
everyone.
Okay.
smile. Okay,
All
thank you.
right.
God
Thank
bless you
you.
Bye.
all. Love
Thanks,
you.
Yeah.
everybody.
Peace out.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye
Goodbye.
bye.